We have just left the courtroom here at 360 Adams Street, Supreme Court, State of New York. Now we're going to be meeting with Rob Burstein. We're in the corridor right now, outside the courtroom. We're going to be meeting with Rob Burstein in a little while, the founding member of Friends of Save the Boardwalk. My impression, and I really don't want to get into it with Rob very much because he's in a more delicate position as far as this case is concerned, but my position is, and let me get the name of the judge, Judge Solomon, I think. Judge Solomon, I don't have his first name. I'm going to tell you something. I have been in some courtrooms in my life, and this is maybe the most biased. I mean, maybe I'm misreading this thing, but the judge was he intimidated the attorneys. There were 4 different attorneys representing the plaintiff in this case, friend of the Boardwalk and Save the Boardwalk. He was extremely intimidating to the attorneys here. This is really pretty scary. There are some of the attorneys standing here right now, and I'm going to get an impression from them. But the impression I got was this was a very slanted situation. I really felt that the judge was biased in this case. He continuously talked down to the plaintiff's attorneys. He only allowed one to speak, and she stood up, and he was demanding of her, "Where is it? What do you mean? Where is it? Explain it." And he kept on cutting her up and cutting her up and cutting her up, and he gave a lot more leeway to the Parks Department attorneys. The attorneys are here right now. I don't know if I can speak to Rob Burstein is here, and Rob seems a little upset. And folks, you're with the Parks Department.
We're not with the Parks Department.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You're here with the Parks Department case, the Boardwalk case. This is the attorney. Your name?
No comment.
She's not giving a comment. I'm going to tell you something. This was absolutely incredible. The way she doesn't want to speak. She's red-faced and teary-eyed. She was really pushed around by this judge. This was really, she was really pushed around. Does anybody want to speak on what happened in there? There are a lot of upset people here standing right here in the circle right now. I'm with the New York City Vision, so I'll give you a card in a little while. This was really a shocker. I mean, the way the judge treated the attorneys for the plaintiff here, it was. What's your sense? You were in there. What's your sense?
I'm an observer.
And what did you observe?
I observed that he was very brusque.
Extremely
brusque, particularly to the plaintiff's attorneys. Not much less to the defendant's attorneys.
Right, but he was a little more giving with the defendants.
Well, yes.
I mean, he kept on shutting down the attorney that was speaking. You weren't only allowed one to speak, and he kept on interrupting, and he kept on intimidating and speaking down to it. It was an incredible.
Well, he said that everything you have to say, if it's in the documentation, I've reviewed the documentation, so don't take up my time.
Right.
And unfortunately, in the court system in the New York City area, all judges are under the gun to move things along as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but you can be a little more classy in your approach.
You could be a little more tolerant and polite. Yeah. I would say he didn't set the high water mark for being tolerant and polite.
No, he didn't. And so you'll get the answer in 60 days, and that's it. And then he talked about the jogging and the biking and the slip and fall and the whole thing. I said, well, there's a little ray of sunshine there, so maybe. And then he talked about his childhood. I know the Boardwalk better than anybody in this room. On and on about his family and you think this and what the width is and all. It's just.
I think he spent more time talking about his memories than he gave the time to the attorney to speak and present her case.
Yeah, he kept on reflecting on his childhood and the memories and all that. You're not there to talk about your personal feelings. You're there to hear a case. Anyway, that's my feeling on it. Okay, so I kind of expected now the attorneys did not. They were really shut down at every turn. Their attorneys really never got the opportunity to plead that case, and the attorney is still pretty upset. The first one I tried to get a comment from. So that's the story, and none of the attorneys again, I don't spend the amount of time in courts in courtrooms as these attorneys do, but the sense I got is the way it was. It was really It was really offensive. It was extremely insulting on this thing. Anyway, so that's the story. We're going to try to meet with... have I said you're listening to New York City Visions? I'm your host and fellow courtroom observer, Herb Malsman. We're at 360 Adams Street, Supreme Court of the State of New York in Brooklyn, and the case today, and the hearing was today, the New York City Parks and Recreation. And I do want to make a point about the New York City Parks and Recreation. Again, I was media liaison with Parks and Recreation in 1985. I was the first media liaison person. And I got a call from New York, I was around Easter time, and I got a call from New York Magazine. They wanted to do a thing about the Easter egg hunt in Central Park. And so I called operations to find out that they wanted to take pictures of the Easter eggs. They wanted to come in and do a story about the Easter eggs. And I called the operations manager, and the operations person said, well, I don't know if you want to do anything about the Easter eggs because they're in pretty bad shape. They're all splintered and chipped. The paint is worn off. They're just basically brown eggs is what they were. In awful shape, splintered, and little chips of paint, and that's so on and so forth. And I said, well, so I had them repaint them, refinish them, and repaint them. And when they were ready, then I had New York Magazine come in and take pictures of them. So that's New York City Parks and Recreation. That's the deal. They did it. Easter eggs made no more difference to them than the Riegelmann Boardwalk. So that's what I know about Parks and Recreation. And so Easter eggs is all I have to know. And then, of course, they built a $2.5 million bathroom in the park, so it's easier for maintenance. So it's all about maintenance with these guys. I'm not a fan of Parks and Recreation, even though I worked for them and I worked with them. I always think about the Easter eggs and the way they handle the Easter eggs. So that's the story. And again, the attorneys don't want to speak, and I don't, and I'm not going to try to ask them again. But Rob is speaking to somebody right now, and so here we are in the little circle with Rob, and I'm going to get Rob's impression in just a moment. Okay, okay, Rob is cut away. Rob is cut away. He's chatting with somebody right now, and he seems very, 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 very down on this whole thing, and so let's just wait till our turn and get up there. So,
all right, have a good one.
Rob, let's speak for a moment. We know what happened in there. Now, my take, and none of the attorneys want to speak, and they're pretty upset. My take is the judge was really pretty intimidating and pretty offensive.
Well,
you don't have to speak. I mean, it's up to you.
Right. Let me just say goodbye to the attorneys.
Okay, the attorneys are leaving now. They're thanking each other, and the attorney that was standing, she was the one who was speaking. She's still teary-eyed, and she's very upset. Very upset. So the reading I was getting was that this did not go well. The judge had already kind of predetermined at this point, I think. There's another attorney over here. Let's see if I'm trying to get a reading. Maybe he'll. Okay, I don't want to bother them. They're sort of in session over here, these attorneys, and maybe I can get him to speak. We'll see. And Rob is speaking with him, and I'm not gonna stick the mic in there. I don't want to. You folks were at the table, right? I mean, am I?
No, I wasn't.
You were.
But
you were in the room there.
Thank you for
But you were in the room.
It's horrible.
It wasn't just us then.
I won't even. What he did to me, you can't. I won't bore you for this.
Okay, so that's the impression I'm getting. You were pretty well intimidated in there.
We weren't intimidated by him, but he just wasn't listening to us.
He wasn't listening. He didn't care.
He didn't seem to be interested in hearing the issues that we wanted to present. That's right.
And he kept on talking about his recollections as a child and on the boardwalk.
Right.
And then when he went to the slip and fall thing, I said, well, that's a good sign. The slip and fall and the jar. What is your gut reaction here?
Hopefully, he'll go back and read the papers. He hasn't made up his mind. He'll do the right thing.
Yeah.
And if there's always the opportunity to take this up to the appellate division in Brooklyn, and so, that's the next step. If he rules against us, and I'm sure the city will take him up if he rules against them.
Right, he was very, very curt with you folks. I mean,
Yes, he was.
And the lead attorney in this case, the woman who's speaking,
Yes.
she's pretty upset.
Well, it's an
You
upsetting
did speak
experience.
for a moment. It's like he said, Sue, you sit down, you stand up and tell me what's going on. It was like he was really intimidating to her.
I don't know if he had some sort of issue with the fact that, we're from Manhattan and not Brooklyn. I just don't know. But hopefully he'll keep an open mind and he'll go back and read the papers and realize we're right.
I've been saying on the program right now, I was media liaison with Parks and Recreation in 1985.
Really?
Yeah, I was there.
So you know the whole drill.
Oh, yeah. I got a call. Henry Stern was the commissioner
Sure.
at the time. Yeah. And I got a call from New York Magazine. They wanted to do a thing about the Easter egg hunt, the Easter eggs. And I called operations. They want to take pictures of the Easter eggs. So the guy at operations said, well, these Easter eggs are pretty bright shit. They're splintered, the paint is chipped off, they're just brown little balls of stuff. So I had him refinish the eggs so that... So I had to tell them to refinish the egg so New York Magazine could take pictures. So that's what I know about Parks Department. And then of course the $2.5 million bathroom in this park. That's and Adrian Bedapy has left town. He's rode off with his horse and he's gone now. So anyway, that's what I know about Parks.
There's a lot of money sloshing around there.
No, I'm telling you what. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Rob is okay. A second. So that's the story. That's I was just getting really upset in the courtroom. Said, what is going on with this judge? I mean, gee whiz. I mean, be a little professionalism. There was. I mean, he treated them like they were amateurs, like they were. I mean, I really got the impression that the judge wasn't very. He didn't handle it as objectively as he could have. Anyway, I'm gonna pause for a moment, and then we'll get back to you as soon as I get with Rob. I'll get with Rob, and then we'll shut this down. I'm giving you a listen to New York City Visions. We're in Brooklyn, 360 Adams Street. It is October 25th, 2012. We're on the 4th floor, Part 38. It's a hearing, a lawsuit against New York City Parks and Recreation and the City of New York to stop them from replacing the boards at the Riegelmann Boardwalk in Coney Island with plastic and concrete. So that's what's going on. And the judge both sides will hear from the judge in 60 days with his decision. And it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. And it makes me even more committed to the landmarks situation. I was hoping that we could walk in here today. The judge would see the point, and everything else would be immaterial at that point. But I kind of get the feeling that the judge is going to rule in favor of the city. And the Landmarks Commission may play a bigger role in it, or go back to playing a big role in this thing. So I'm kind of committed to getting the Landmarks Commission to. My feeling is once you prove that a landmark has been altered prior to it being made a landmark, then there's a double standard if you don't give the boardwalk the same consideration and respect. Okay, that's the story. I'm going to put us on pause, and I'll be back with you as soon as I can meet with Rob. Let's pause. Okay, Rob Bernstein's been meeting with the press, and I have two hats over here. I'm a member of the press, newly credentialed. Thanks, Bob. As you know, I've been showing it off.
Yes, I see.
But when I take these off, when I take the credentials off, I am a Brooklyn guy and a Coney Island Boardwalk fan. I love the Coney Island Boardwalk. What happened in there, Bill?
Well, it was a court hearing, and the judge seemed to feel that he knew a lot more than any of our attorneys, which he well might, and we felt that it was very difficult for them to share their arguments, which they prepared diligently over the course of a long period of time, because every time they attempted to speak, he would interrupt or shut them down and give his own opinions, which seemed rather curious to me, given that we were hoping for an objective hearing. But we're hopeful that his objectivity will show up when he reviews the papers that they prepared just as diligently.
I mean, the way he treated the attorney, and I don't know her name, because only one could speak, you know, the way he treated it was so, I mean, it was so intimidating. He went out to, he pointing his finger and what do you know? And explain it. He kept on cutting her off, and at the end he gave her 30 seconds, and that's it. I have other cases to do. And then he gave a little thing about the slip and fall kind of thing. I really thought I was looking at something. I wasn't sure I was hearing what I was hearing, but obviously I was. I mean, what's your gut sense coming out of this thing?
Yeah, well, it was very, very frustrating. I mean, we had many people here from the community. I don't know, 50, 60, 70 people show up on a work day. Obviously, it's a meaningful issue, and people care about the boardwalk and the use of it. And we go into a hearing where it doesn't seem that the judge wanted to hear too much of what our side had to say. That I'm hoping that I'm viewing it wrong, but it was really a difficult situation.
Well, the attorney for the Parks Department, at one point, she stood up and she said, well, you know, it's still the boardwalk. The boardwalk is still the boardwalk, but that's not true.
Well, our attorney was attempting to make the point that it's not what she was calling a replacement in kind, which is the argument that the city's attorney was suggesting when she pulled out a case, because it's not just that a project has to be the same size. It's what are the materials and how do they fundamentally change the nature of the entity that you're replacing. And in this case, they would fundamentally change it. So that's the crux of the issue, which unfortunately the judge wouldn't allow our attorney to speak further on.
Yeah, he kept on shutting her up. And at the end, about 30 seconds, he was putting demands on her time. She's very upset.
She is very upset, understandably. They've worked on this case for months and months and done all kinds of research and tried to present a cohesive and a case in depth, and he didn't allow any of that, starting with the slides that we had at the beginning, starting with allowing 3 attorneys to speak. He shut us down to 1. But even that one attorney, he didn't really allow her to speak almost at all.
I couldn't believe the way he treated her.
Yeah, it was very, very disappointing and shocking.
And very unprofessional.
Well,
I think
unprofessional. Those who would judge it that way, you know.
A judge is there to be objective and to see both sides, and he wasn't seeing both. And he threw in the thing about the slip and fall on the bike and all that. I don't know. Would you be surprised if it wasn't fair?
I would be extraordinarily surprised, given what we saw. And I'm not holding my breath on that one, Herb. Yeah. I think that the likelihood of that is about as much as me being able to fly tomorrow.
Yeah.
But strange things have happened.
Well, there are other things we can do. You know, the landmark thing is out there. So.
Yeah, we'll go forward and see what the attorneys want to do once they explore their options.
Yeah.
But it's a tough day because the judge seemed to feel that he knew much more than anybody else in the courtroom about the boardwalk, and perhaps he was right, but not listening to what our attorneys had to say.
You have to listen.
Certainly didn't feel good to us.
And she'd be speaking, and he'd be laughing with this guy next to him about something.
Yeah,
it's almost like they were laughing about something she was saying. It was really meant to break it down a little bit, tear it down. Quickly, your background and how you came to this, and I know you're a Coney Island guy, but your background, that'll let you know.
Sure. I grew up in Coney Island. I grew up in Luna Park, and like many people from the area, the neighborhood has always drawn me back. Although I've lived in other places, I lived in California, in Midwood, in Brooklyn, I've always come back to the boardwalk because, as anybody knows, it has a special ambiance, a special pull, and as well, being an inveterate runner, it's the best for me in terms of the air quality out there and the surface, which is one of the things that an environmental review would show, that changing this surface to concrete, or at least part of it to concrete, certainly will impact, sometimes in a literal way, people's uses of the boardwalk.
Right.
So, like many others...
And you're a teacher.
Oh, yes, I'm a teacher in the
public school
system, yeah. But like many others, I became active once the city announced a plan to use concrete to replace... At first, they intended to replace the entire boardwalk with it, and now they've backed off to this hybrid plan.
Right.
And so that's my interest, is to keep something that we value. And when I say we, it's the people who live there, the people who go there, not necessarily the decision makers, because if they did, I doubt that they would have come up with the plan they came up with.
Right. Okay, I'm going to let you go, Rob, but I want you to give the different websites and where to go and any contact information. Say it twice. and I'll let you go. But we've become friends because a few months ago somehow I came upon this thing. I became involved in it, and we've had an interesting relationship.
Absolutely.
Since then, but here we stand here.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you for being here, and if people want more information and to keep abreast of what's going on, go to our website, which is www.savetheboardwalk.wordpress.com. So it's savetheboardwalk.wordpress.com, and then you'll also have my contact info on there, as well as all of the legal papers we filed and press that we've had and so forth.
And Save the Boardwalk at, right?
No, not at. SaveTheBoardwalk.wordpress.com.
Right. So SaveTheBoardwalk.org.
SaveTheBoardwalk.wordpress.com.
WordPress is the one I was getting, so it's WORKPRESS.
No, WordPress.
WORD.
PRESS.
What did I say?
You said WORK.
Okay.
You're going to have to edit this, sir.
Oh, no, I don't edit anything.
Okay.
I've been getting away with this for years, stumbling around for years. Okay, so it says, let's do
SaveTheBoardwalk.wordpress.com.
Okay, you've got a couple of shirts for me, and I've got your book right here. So we're gonna make a switch right. You get that, folks? Save the Boardwalk.
.wordpress.
Okay.
.com. You'll get it at the end.
Okay, we got the T-shirts. Okay, sign up and say that you got your book, and I put the letter in there from Landmarks. They use a Landmark kind of printer. So, and you can't change the printer, so they're stuck with the printer. It's a little faded in spots. Okay, so and that's faded down from their fade. When I put it into the copy machine, it faded even worse. But some of the fades are original. Well, I'm going to be heading out of the city November 2nd, but we're going to be speaking. We'll get together before we go. And Rob, it ain't over till it's over.
That's for sure.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna shut down, and we're gonna get going, and that's the feel. And at first, as I said, when I came out of the courtroom, I thought maybe because I'm not used to going to courtrooms and hearing the way judges handle cases, I thought maybe this is the way judges, this is the way it is, but it isn't the way it is. These people are pretty well shocked by how this went in here, and the attorneys are shocked. So that tells you what's going on. Okay, we're gonna shut it down here. I'm not sure what time it is now. Do you have the time? Do you have the time?
10:45.
Okay, it's at 10:47, 10:45 right now, and so it's they'll know within 60 days. I'll get back to it. I'll put on this site at archive.org and YouTube, and you just go to Herb Malsman's channel YouTube and look for the Save the Boardwalk thing on the Coney Island Boardwalk, and I'll keep you posted on how it goes in 60 days. I'll keep you updated on. But right now, it's a down feeling. But when the attorneys left just now, they're a little more buoyed. They seemed a little more fresh. But when they came out of there, that was one shock. That was one shock for some of the attorneys that came out of there. They were pretty stunned by the way they were treated. So, well, we'll see what happens. Okay, we're going to sign off. You have been listening to New York City Visions. I'm your host and fellow New Yorker, Herb Malsman, Brooklyn. At again the Supreme Court of State of New York, 360 Adams Street. We just came out of the hearing for lawsuit filed against New York City Parks and Recreation in the move to replace the boards with concrete and plastic type slats, whatever they're called. And of course it's all. But look into this. Go on to Save the Boardwalk, and you've got the information there. Go on that or Friends of the Boardwalk, and you can read all about it. It'll get you caught up on exactly what the points are and what this lawsuit was all about, and why they're trying to stop the destruction of the Riegelmann Boardwalk at Coney Island. Okay, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. We will we'll keep you posted on the outcome of this case and how it goes. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Herb Malsman, and speak to you soon, and bye-bye.